Good morning, students. Yesterday we have discussed about the second chapter, introduction, components of food. Okay, there we have discussed what are the components of food and what is nutrient. Okay, in nutrition what components should be there. Okay, so as I told yesterday, we are going to do test of components. Okay, so first test we are going to take carbohydrates. Okay, carbohydrates give instant energy. Okay, carbohydrates, which food gives us instant energy? Okay, that food contains carbohydrates. For example, rice. Okay, when you eat rice, you get instant energy. As well as some fruits also. Okay, in which food you will get a little bit sugar content. Okay, that food contains carbohydrates. Okay, best example for carbohydrate is a starch, student. Starch. Example of for carbohydrate is starch. You can say that instead of test for carbohydrates, you can say that test for starch also you can, because it is a very good example for carbohydrates. Okay, then how to do this test? To carry this test, we need test tube and raw ingredient or food. Raw ingredients or food. And next one, most important, iodine solution. Iodine solution. We will not get this iodine solution. We will get this iodine solution in shops also. Okay, chemist shop also, or we can prepare this in home also. Okay, so then how this test is will carry out? Okay, to check this one, take little bit raw ingredient or food. Okay, and take put into a test tube. Okay, and then put 2 to 3 drops of iodine solution. 2 to 3 drops of iodine solution. Okay, then wait for some time. Okay, then see that, observe that test tube, that food is changed its color to blue or black. Okay, if the food color is changed to blue black, then we can satisfy, then we can tell that the food contains carbohydrates or the food contains starch. Okay, I will explain once again what to do. First, we have to take raw ingredient or food. Okay, and we have to little bit put into test tube. Okay, after that we have to put iodine solution in that. Okay, then we have to shake little bit and we have to leave some time. Okay, after some time we have to observe that one, whether the food has changed its color to blue black. Okay, if the color is changed to blue black, then we have to consider that, we have to consult that that food contains carbohydrates. I hope you people are understood. Okay, to carry that test, what we need test tube, raw ingredient and iodine solution. This one is important. Which solution, the question will come, which solution is used to test starch or to test carbohydrates in food? Then the answer will come iodine solution. Okay, I hope you understood. Okay, we'll test for next, we'll go for next test now. Okay, next test for test for protein. Okay. Okay, students. Now we are going to study test for protein. Test for protein. Okay. To carry this protein test for food items, we require food item. Okay. But if the food item is solid, okay, you have to paste it. You have to make it powder. Okay. Grind it and make it powder. Okay. And test tube we need copper sulfate. We need For carbohydrate we require which solution? Iodine solution. For protein test we require copper sulfate solution, and we require little bit caustic soda also. Okay, and then okay, this much only required. Okay, how to carry this now test? Okay, take food item. If the food item is solid, make it powder, and take small amount of food item and fill it in a test tube, clean test tube, and put some little bit water in that one test tube and shake it, mix it well. Then after some time, after 2 to 3 minutes, you put in that 2 to 3 drops of copper sulfate solution. 2 to 3 drops of copper sulfate solution, and shake it well. Shake it well for some time, and after that put 8 to 10 drops of caustic soda. 8 to 10 drops of caustic soda you have to fill in that test tube and shake it well. Okay, leave for some time. After that, observe that test tube, whether that test tube, okay, that material which is there in test tube, is it changing its color to violet? If the color is changing violet, that indicates that the violet colors indicates that the presence of protein in the food item. Okay, so two things you have to remember here. Okay, food converts into which color? Violet color indicates that the food item contains protein component. Okay, I'll explain once again. Okay, listen carefully. What we need to do? We have to take food item, okay, and we have to grind it well, and we have to fill in a test tube. Okay, then we have to put small amount of water and we have to mix it well. Then after some time put 2 to 3 drops of copper sulfate solution, okay, and shake it well. After some time put 10 drops, at least 10 drops of caustic soda in that test tube. Okay, shake it well, mix it well. Okay, leave it for some time. Okay, after some time you see whether that food item changing its color to violet or not. So that violet color indicates that the food item contains protein. Okay, so this is how to check protein component present in the food. I hope you understood. Okay, thank you. Okay students, we go for third test now, that is test for fats. Okay, this is very easy students. You take groundnuts, okay, keep on paper. Okay, take groundnuts, keep on paper and crash it well and fold that paper, okay, and crash it. Okay, neatly crash it, but take care that paper does not tear. Okay, smoothly you crash it and open that paper, okay, and cleanly observe it. Are you getting any oily patch on that paper? That oily patch only shows you, okay, that food contains fat. Okay, that means fats is nothing but oily products. Okay, that's why that paper, on that paper, if that component oil fats component is present in that food, we will get oily fats on that paper. Okay, otherwise you can take that paper and take against the light and then see, are you able to see that light clearly visible? If not, that means it contains is a oily patch. Okay, that shows us, that oily patch shows us that food items contains fat. Okay, so sometimes that food items will contain water also. Okay, for that what do people do? Okay, when you crash it, leave for some time. Okay, that water content will what evaporate. After that one, you take that paper and keep against the sunlight or any light. You will get see whether you are able to see that light clearly visible or not. If not, that shows that food contains what? Fat components. Okay, so till now we have discussed test for carbohydrate, test for protein and test for fat also. Okay, other than these components, okay, our food will contain some other components. These are vitamins and minerals. Okay, then we'll study. Next class we are going to study about vitamins and minerals. Okay, there we will discuss which type of minerals are there, which type of vitamins are there, why we need that one, and which vitamin is good for which part of our body, and how we are going to control that vitamins in our body, and if that vitamin is not there in that whatever we are having our food, okay, what deficiency means what problem we are going to face, okay, because of deficiency of that vitamins. We are going to study that one, students. Okay, I hope you understood all three tests here. Okay, please take care if possible. Try to do in your home. Okay, because I am not getting here iodine solutions. Okay, and copper sulfate solution. Okay, here in video I can't able to show you also. If possible, if I get video, I will join in that one. There we can carry it. Okay, thank you, students.
Test for starch, protein and fat. In this module, you will learn to test the presence of starch, protein and fat in food items. One should have milk in his diet because it is a complete food. But what is meant by complete food? Complete food means the food that contains all the required components of food such as carbohydrates, proteins, fats, minerals, etc. Milk contains almost all of these required components, so it is a complete food. Let us conduct an activity to find out the presence of components of food such as starch, protein and fat in different food items. To conduct this activity, you need a few potatoes, pulses in powdered form, crushed cashew nuts, a knife, a dropper, a candle, a matchbox, test tubes, iodine solution, copper sulfate solution, caustic soda solution, and water. Let us first test the food items for the presence of starch. Take 4 test tubes. Now mark them as A, B, C and D and place them in a test tube stand. Cut a small piece of potato with the knife and put it in the test tube A. Take a little quantity of powdered pulse and put it in the test tube B. In the test tube C, add a few pieces of crushed cashew nuts. In the test tube D, add a little amount of water and label this as control. With the help of a dropper, add few drops of iodine solution in each test tube. Now wait for 1 to 2 minutes and observe. What do you observe? The potato piece in the test tube A turned blue-black. You can also observe that no change has occurred in the test tubes B, C and D. Starch reacts with iodine solution to give a blue-black color. The test tube containing potato showed blue-black coloration. This confirms that potato contains starch. Let us now perform next activity to test the presence of proteins in the food items. First, take 4 test tubes. Now mark them as A, B, C and D and place them in a test tube stand. Now, similar to the first experiment, put a piece of potato in test tube A, a little quantity of powdered pearls in the test tube B, and few pieces of crushed cashew nuts in test tube C. In the test tube D, add a little amount of water and label this as control. Then add few drops of water in each test tube. Shake all the test tubes well. Now, with the help of dropper, add 2 drops of copper sulfate solution and few drops of caustic soda to each test tube. Again, shake all the test tubes well. And wait for a few minutes. Observe the change in color in all the test tubes. This time you will observe that in the test tube B, the color of the food item changes from blue to violet. But why is it so? This is because proteins give violet color on reacting with copper sulfate and caustic soda. Hence, we conclude that pulses contain proteins. Pulses are a rich source of proteins. Let's conduct a test that confirms the presence of fat in food substances. Take 4 pieces of paper. Mark these pieces as A, B, C and D respectively. On paper A, keep a small potato. On paper B, keep powdered pulses. On paper C, keep crushed cashew nuts. Do not keep anything on paper D. Wrap each food item in its respective papers and crush them properly. Now straighten the papers and remove the food items from them. What do you observe on the paper pieces? Let us see. There is nothing on the paper A and paper B. There are some peculiar patches on the paper C. No, there is nothing on paper D also. Let us find out more about the patches on paper C. Are these patches oily? Light a candle and hold it against the light. What do you observe? A very faint light passes through the oily patch. An oily patch on the paper confirms the presence of fat in food item. Therefore, we can conclude that cashew nut contains fat. In this module, you have learned that food items contain some essential components. For example, potatoes contain starch, pulses contain protein, cashew nut contains fat.